Hello and welcome to another episode of Wholala. It is Alasdair here. Sam has been fired from the show for gross misconduct. He was embezzling money and we couldn't keep him any longer. Just kidding. Hee hee hee. He has very selfishly gone on holiday to Barbados where he is soaking up the sun, which I think is very rude of him because I'm not doing the same thing. No, we're sending all our best wishes to Sam on his lovely holiday. They tell me he has an internet connection out there and he's been sending texts and I've been ignoring them. I don't think that's true. I think he's off grid. But wishing you all the best, Sam. Now, don't worry because we did get a great substitute in place. And actually, this is a conversation I've wanted to have for a very long time. On Wholala, we talk all the time about childhood and I really couldn't have a better guest to discuss it from a new angle than who I've got this week. It is my little sister Anna, and we didn't just book her because she doesn't have a fee. No, we booked her because she has a great unique perspective on growing up with Doctor Who and the shared experiences we had when we were younger and how we saw it from different angles and how we've taken Doctor Who into our adult lives as well. So this is a great conversation this week and let's dive in. Anna, how does it feel to be here?
It feels wonderful.
I feel really special.
I feel really valued.
You are a really interesting figure in my life.
An interesting figure.
An interesting figure.
Not a relation, just a figure.
No, just an artifact of my life. You've had so many jobs. You've done so many things. I was trying to think, how do I summarize who you are? And I think we could start by going through some of the jobs you've held.
Oh no, okay.
I've written down a list of some of your past jobs.
Oh.
Can you rate your experience with these out of 5 as I go through them?
Yes.
The scale is really yours to be subjective with, but
It's five highest.
Yeah, 5's like a 5-star experience for
Okay.
employment. Okay. You tutored Danish children.
Oh, over Skype. It's gonna be a 2. One of them threatened to kill me quite a lot.
Yeah, okay, but that would be low. You were an attendant at the Legoland driving school.
Very much a 3. I like that job, but then I got run over.
Yeah, over your foot.
Yeah, really hard. I quit the job.
Yeah, photographer.
Oh, 5. Love it.
Yeah, Anna actually shot our Wholala cover art for this season, and we're very grateful for that.
Thank you.
She was paid, just to be clear. It wasn't a pro bono piece of work.
No, it wasn't. No.
That would have been a no. You are a talent agent as well for kids.
Yeah, 5 out of 5. I love my job.
Yeah. Any good bookings lately?
A lot of stuff that's NDA'd, so I'm not gonna reveal that.
Okay, no spoilers. You were a Edinburgh Fringe brand ambassador.
Yeah, that was a 5 out of 5 as well.
Another 5, even though incredibly physically taxing.
Oh, it nearly broke me, but I had the best time.
You've been a chaperone.
Oh yeah, that's a good 4 out of 5. That's always fun.
Okay, it's quite positive so far. A social media manager.
Yeah, that's another 4. That's always fun.
Yeah, a Fright Night actor.
I'm going to have to go with 3. Both the best and worst experience of my life. I played a 50s housewife. I played a lake creature who crawled on the floor.
Wow.
I played Clownmas, who was a clown who'd killed Father Christmas and taken its place.
Sure.
I played a witch.
You've been a voiceover artist for CITV.
Oh, 5 out of 5. That was amazing.
Introducing Mr. Bean. In fact, can you do it now?
Oh, God, you're putting me on the spot. Okay.
Go on.
Okay, wait, context. They hired me because I was over 18, but in their words, could play down to 11. So it went something like, back to back, Mr. Bean, every Thursday at 12:15 on CITV.
Wow, the pep in that it's strong.
It's strong.
I'm awake, wide awake. I think, is CITV dead now? It's not done.
It's dying.
That's a real shame. You've been a Christmas elf for another unnamed theme park.
2, actually.
Oh, for 2
different places.
2 different parks.
I cheated this year.
And doing it flawlessly.
Yeah, that's another 3.
You've been a character for, can I say?
I feel like you probably...
You've dressed up full head to toe costume.
And I'm doing it again.
And she'll do it again. You've been a guest. Oh, this is the last one. You've been a guest excellence advisor.
Oh, that's going to be a solid 1 out of 5. I got harassed at that job relentlessly.
So, Anna, you had the fortunate experience of growing up with me. And on this show, me and Sam talk a lot about our childhood. And all of that is from my very biased perspective of how I remember events. What's your impression of me as a child?
You were a much better behaved child than I was, I would say.
Oh.
I mean, Mum did explicitly say the reason she didn't have more children was because of me. They were originally planning to have, I think, at least 3, and then Mum said they had me, and you'd been a really easy baby, and they had me, and they actually decided that 2 was plenty. Thank you.
Yeah. I remember the day you joined this world.
Do you?
I do, because I was given a Thomas the Tank Engine, Annie and Clarabelle Brio train. I didn't question whether that was kind of plausible. I just was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, apparently it came from me, out of the womb.
Out of the womb. A lovely gift. Yeah, I do remember us having something of like an Arthur DW relationship.
Yeah, I would say that that's not unfair to either of us, really.
No. Do you feel that's mellowed with age, or do you still think of me as your boring older brother?
I never thought of you as boring.
Yeah.
But I definitely...
Colours within the lines.
A little bit, yeah. I definitely think I had a bit more of an adventurous streak. I wanted to...
Yeah, I can see that.
I wanted to forge my own path.
I think what we've said before is we're both quite anxious people, but manifest that in quite different ways.
Yes, mine is more of a sort of chaotic energy that you wouldn't expect to find in somebody with so much anxiety necessarily.
No, I will find out that you're in Iceland.
Oh, I love fleeing the country.
In a lava field, and that's how you're coping with a bad week. You're a Who fan? Would you call yourself a Whovian?
I would call myself a Whovian, yeah.
Yeah. What other media did you love as a child that wasn't Who?
As a child? Oh, goodness. I'm trying to think back, because when we started watching it, we were very young.
Winx Club is one I remember you loved.
I loved Winx Club, but we weren't meant to watch it.
Or were fairies off limits too?
Fairies were off limits.
Were they?
Yeah, fairies. So I had 2 programs I loved. Witch on CBBC and Winx Club.
That was banned. I remember Witch being banned.
Oh, Witch was banned. But Winx Club I was also discouraged from watching. But one of the babysitters we went to, they had a kid and...
And she showed us Witch. And she showed us The Simpsons as well.
My gosh,
we
all of
weren't
my
supposed to
favourite
watch.
shows.
I know. With time, our parents are far more mellow. I think at that time, they'd been slightly taken in by that sort of like slight moral panic around certain TV shows corrupting our young people.
Yeah, it was the same sort of vibe as Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter, we were no Harry Potter family. Doctor Who, the moment my life changed forever was seeing Billie Piper get off the bus, going to her little shop job with the tune of Westminster Bridge playing. Was that your defining moment? Did you ever look at her and think, that's going to be me?
I definitely looked at her a lot and probably thought about her an unhealthy amount. I just thought, wow.
Was that one that you couldn't work out?
Yeah, that was
I want to be her or be her best friend, or is there something else happening here?
I think it was a bit of all 3. I think I was going through quite an early queer panic.
Yeah.
Because I do adore Billie Piper actually.
Yeah.
But I do remember that first episode. I remember watching it off the little DVD we had.
Yeah. We got the free DVD in the Sun. We're not Sun readers.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't said the name of the paper.
But that is where it came. I really thought it came from something else. But no, I looked back. You can still get it on eBay, 99p, but it is from the Sun.
I remember Dad bringing it back and it being a thing. I think we watched it after church one day. That's what I remember.
I believe that. We would have put it on the family PC.
I do remember that episode quite clearly. But then I think the one that I remember the most from series 1 was Father's Day, because that episode even then made me very, very emotional. But that was one of the scariest creatures I've seen in Doctor Who to this day.
The Reapers.
The Reapers still freak me out.
Did we? I think we watched the episode with Dad.
I don't remember.
I feel that we did.
I was literally 6 years old, Alasdair.
It was a little much for you, to be honest. I think it's rated a 12.
But what's interesting, actually, is that Alasdair was really scared by some of the earlier episodes where I definitely don't remember having issues.
What do you remember me having issues with? Because the empty child...
Alasdair was the reason we had to turn off the empty child. I was having a great time. I was living my life. I could understand that it was fiction. I don't think Alasdair was there yet.
I thought the Doctor was going to turn into a gas mask dummy in the second episode. And I was like, don't you know what's happening? Ah! And kind of ran up the stairs upset. And then there was a bit of an argument that ensued from that.
Yeah, and it got switched off for me.
I'm sorry. I ruined it for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't remember really finding. Father's Day was my scary. I mean, I didn't love the gas. I found them a bit freaky, but Alasdair was quite. And what was really funny after this is that Mum would relentlessly tease Alasdair if he was behaving badly, which was rare. But she would suddenly start. She would just suddenly stop, and then she'd go, "Are you my mummy?" And Alasdair would freak out. He couldn't handle it, and he'd just start going, "Mum, stop! He was so freaked. And also
Quite
then,
cruel, actually.
maybe a year later, obviously we got the Clockwork Monsters, and Mum would bend in double. So she'd bend over, and then she'd start making, like, ticking noises. And that was all it took. And Alasdair would run away. He hated it.
I want to clarify that I've got a really good relationship with my mum. And that I wasn't a victim.
No, he wasn't. And I would find it really funny.
It was objectively funny.
It
was funny.
It's still really funny. And Mum will still pretend to do it to me, and I'm like, it doesn't work on me. I feel like this is an important point to bring up. Do you remember when for a church fete, you and Dad painted my face?
As the Rachnos.
Yes.
Yes.
From the series 2 Christmas episode.
Yes.
The Empress of the Rachnos was what I decided I wanted to be.
Yes.
It's the fact that Dad really went along with it.
It's the way that we said this is the right thing to take to the family church.
This
fete
7-year-old girl
has just got a red alien face. What made you want to have that on your face?
I don't know.
Why did you want to be the Rachnos on that day?
Well, who else was I going to be?
Who suggested this?
I think I suggested
Did
it.
anyone else have face paint?
No, this was a me thing.
Or what was your scariest episode? Thinking like early Doctor Who pre-series 4. What freaks you out when you were little?
Father's Day's one. Father's Day because I love my dad. And yeah, I do really love my dad. And also because the Reapers, it's the way they went for all the children. I remember that being quite freaky. You remember the park becomes empty? That was a lot. And also like something about seeing Jackie Tyler in that outfit sort of freaked me out. It was like, you're not in the right decade.
Oh, it freaked you out. You weren't like, camp.
No, I was a bit too young to get the camp. 6-year-old me wasn't going slay.
Like snaps.
It was outside of my comfort zone, but that and then the Satan pit, because I do remember that probably was a bit of a religious.
Well, Sam's talked about that episode before, and you know, for anyone who doesn't remember these ones, there was a double two-parter, not a double two-parter. There was a two-parter called The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, where the Doctor meets Satan, which is heavy. And
it is heavy, and also I think it wasn't just the presence of the devil, it was that I've forgotten the name.
There's a character called Toby.
Yes, Toby, and
Toby's possessed a few points, and he has this writing.
It was the writing that
suddenly
freaked
scribbled
me out.
all over his skin, and he has like bright red eyes.
I'm physically holding my head. I did not. I love that episode now.
Well, Sam had it in a copy of a magazine back in the day, and he had to go through it and scribble Toby out on any of the pages he appeared on.
Oh no!
Yeah,
bless him.
he really struggled with that.
I mean, it was a fantastic episode. Don't get me wrong; it's one of the best ones.
Thinking of positive things, then, who were some of your standout characters? Not just from the old stuff, because you got back into Who again, didn't you? You sort of fell off, maybe
around the second half of Capaldi. I didn't. After I wouldn't watch the Raven episode. And then I didn't get any further. After Face the Raven, I just said, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. Too many of my friends have died.
I think that kind of answers one of the questions then about another favourite, with that being Jenna Coleman and
you know what?
And
it wasn't
Clara.
even that Clara was my favourite. It's that Jenna Coleman is beautiful. And I think that's a fair response. I liked Oswin best. Obviously, I think everybody did.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember we had that?
We had that discussion. Clara is a complicated character in that she is kind of split into several versions of herself, and the first one we see on screen is actually a duplicate called Oswin Oswald.
I think I also like the reference to her by Panic in
Yeah.
that episode, and I think I really sort of was like, interesting. I can get on board, and I love that red dress.
What was the joke she makes? I had a boyfriend called Rory. Actually, she was called Nina.
But then she says,
I was going through a phase,
which I was like, you can do better.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I mean,
that's the Moffat effect for you.
Well, I was going to say the reason I wasn't such a fan of some of those characters was just it felt very weirdly sexualized with all of them.
Yeah.
I absolutely adored Rose. Rose was my gateway into Doctor Who. Not Christopher Eccleston. It was Billy Piper for me.
Yeah.
as much as I love the Doctor, I wanted to be Billie Piper. And I absolutely loved Martha and Donna. I do just remember having the strongest connections. I do remember being very upset watching Doomsday, even as a 7-year-old. I found that very traumatic.
Yeah. You've always really struggled with companion goodbyes.
Oh,
when
Amy
you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy and Rory, when they kind of leap to their deaths back in, oh my God.
It wasn't when they leapt to their deaths, it's when the Weeping Angel got them.
When the Weeping Angel got them and there was a long goodbye and Amy goes back into the past to be with Rory. I kind of turned to my right and Anna is sobbing on the sofa, like shaking, throwing up, crying kind of level, kind of like, I was kind of like...
I was not coping very well. And then what Alasdair did that I think is particularly mean is that he then continued to look up the song that they had died to and play it repeatedly, very loudly across the house, and I had to yell at him to please stop.
I'm a soundtrack fan, what can I say?
I know, but I was like, Alasdair, there's a time... I think Mum and Dad had to come home and tell you to stop playing it because I was so upset. I wasn't even little. I was about 15 then.
This is what I mean, right? Comes back to the baby sister thing. You were much too old.
No, I wasn't. I'm sure other people listening will have had extreme reactions.
It was a very visceral reaction you had. It was like you had just learned a friend had passed away.
A little bit, yeah. The one episode I like that I think is really underrated, personally, I think it's brilliant, is the 2012 episode, Fear Her. Not made in 2012. The one.
You mean, yeah. You liked Chloe Webber's episode.
I love Chloe Webber, man. Maybe that was the future.
That's one of the most unpopular episodes.
I think it's fantastic.
I love Chloe Webber.
I love Chloe Webber. Like, maybe that's me as a...
I don't know if I've ever said this before. I have earrings made of the top trump... Have you seen these? I've got the top trump cards.
How dare you say, have you seen these? I sent you the link.
Oh, yeah. You recommended it. I've got top trump cards of Chloe Webber and Chloe's dad as, like, matching earrings. And they're just the cards. They're massive. You can't really wear them anywhere, but they're funny.
I'm surprised it's such an unpopular episode because I just love the dynamic. The panic I felt as when the Doctor disappeared. I love the camp setup of it. It feels camp. I feel like that grandma at the start of the episode gives me good vibes. I like her little they're all disappearing.
The grandma.
The grandma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think I've seen people nowadays.
Oi, that's a council axe on a council road. Let's talk about our experiences with Doctor Who events, locations. So I've talked about this before. So we're both half Welsh. We're Welsh on our mum's side, and so we've spent a lot of time in South Wales, which is where our granddad's from, and it's where our mum grew up. And that means we spent a lot of time at Cardiff Bay.
Yes.
Near the BBC Welsh studios, where they used to have the Doctor Who Experience, where they've got the water tower, which featured in a lot of episodes, and in Torchwood. It's got Yanto's Shrine. It's got the Mermaid Quay Shopping Centre, which is London often.
Oh, I absolutely love Cardiff. And there was a very, very long period of time I really hoped the whole family would relocate there. And I'm not sure why I thought that was a possibility, but I really was rooting for it.
Just because of who?
I think it's just the fact that Doctor Who was there. I really thought that was enough to make us all move.
Enough for us all to relocate.
Yeah,
sure.
I really like Cold Nap and stuff. I don't know why. I just have cute memories of us freezing on a beach.
There are some really beautiful places.
And
I
love Barry Island. I went there again recently. I think it's one of the best places on earth.
It's very much benefit from the Gavin and Stacey boom, I think. Not that it wasn't nice.
I'm just not gonna stand for the thunder.
We went to the Wales Doctor Experience, RIP, now a car park.
Oh, we went to... I went to that, I think, even more times than you did, because whenever I used to go up and visit Grandad by myself, I used to take myself on a solo tour around the experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And, I mean, that's quite a limited experience to do that many times.
I think I did it upwards of 15.
The story doesn't change, though, does it?
No. I didn't realise that it had to for me to enjoy
You're just
it.
Whispering, mouthing all the words back at Matt Smith. I can imagine that.
was sort of the vibe, yeah.
And we went to the BFI together for the premiere of Deep Breath, Peter Capaldi.
Yes, we did. And we've got photos from that still.
We have. That was more recent. That was maybe 20.
Oh, I want to guess it was about 15 or 16.
Yeah,
it's going to be really bad if we've got that really out. It could have been 14 even.
Yeah, and we were sitting not so far from Stephen Moffat, who was kind of a couple of rows back from us in the middle.
Yes, and I do remember didn't you see Neil Gaiman at one point?
It wasn't Neil Gaiman, it was Mark Gatiss.
There you go.
I did see him and I got a selfie with him. And at the end, we queued up with everyone else to try and get a picture with Jenna Coleman and Peter Capaldi. They were coming out through the crowd and we did not position ourselves well. We did not get in line fast enough.
Yeah, some people did, but they got pulled away, I think.
Some people had sort of shoved in a bit. And they almost got to us and they were like, I'm really sorry, guys, that's all for today. And they got in their cars and they left.
I think I might have cried over that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It was, to be fair, a pretty devastating moment, but we did get to see them in the flesh up close, which was nice.
So we went to the 50th anniversary at the London Excel Centre.
Yes!
Yes! We went to the 50th anniversary at the London Excel Centre.
Yes, we did.
I actually, weirdly, don't remember as much about this as you would think, because do you remember I was really ill and I insisted on coming for both days, but I just remember I had really bad tonsillitis or something at that point.
I was very in my own little world, I fear. I didn't dress up for it, but I might have brought a sonic screwdriver with me. And I think I was just so in my bubble. I'm sorry that I don't recall that.
And while Alasdair didn't dress up, I did insist on wearing a fez all weekend.
Yeah.
And I took a photo in it, a really, really bad, I think it was probably an iPhone 6 selfie. And I used it as a profile picture for about 2 years. And I only took it down very recently, and I was a bit too old for that to be...
Very from that age of Tumblr.
I used to have about 15 Doctor Who and a couple of Sherlock t-shirts, and I just remember I had a lot of them which just had sort of Jenna Coleman's face on them in different artistic styles, which again in hindsight is very gay. And I didn't see anything about it that could be construed.
Oh, sweetheart.
And all the female companions as well. Actually, looking back, I didn't have a single Doctor Who t-shirt that had any of the Doctors on them. I'm not joking. I've just realised
the closet was made of glass, honey.
It was made of nothing.
The other one you had that was terrible was the Sherlock t-shirt.
Don't, because Alasdair mentioned this today.
You only realised today how bad it is. What does it say, Anna?
It said, "I don't shave for Sherlock Holmes," which is a quote from Series 3 from Watson. But Alasdair pointed out that it could...
No, you don't need to explain it.
Okay. But I just think other people might not get...
No, they'll get it.
Okay.
They'll know.
Well, I didn't as a 24-year-old, I only got it today. I realised what I haven't really talked about, which I should, because I loved it and you didn't do it as much. Doctor Who Time Fracture.
Yes!
Because this is really feeding into all of my areas of expertise.
Okay.
So, Doctor Who Time Fracture, I went to, I want to say 6 or 7 times.
This was an immersive experience. This was like interactive theatre.
Yes, it was in London. And it was absolutely incredible. And what I loved about it is, depending on sort of which set of stairs you go down, where you are in the group, you can get pulled basically into any of 13 storylines. And it's just the most incredible immersive theatre. I took Alasdair to do it. I think we did it together twice.
Yeah, and the first time we went, I was very overwhelmed.
And I had the absolute best. I love immersive theatre. It's absolutely fun.
You really embrace that stuff. You don't get shy with that. You jump right back in.
But it's what I'm used to doing. I had the
You've
best time.
You've been on the other side of it.
I've been on the other side of it, and I thought it was so well done. But what I liked about it was actually how it fed into the wide Doctor Who stories, how they managed to tie little bits and pieces together.
Very good props, sets, costumes.
Oh, I loved how they had the Torchwood set up, and then I love how you also had like other Time Lords. I loved the use of...
Met Davros at one point.
We did meet
in
Davros.
full costume.
You know what? I like meeting the Cybermen. I've met the Cybermen now. They came out at one point. That was fantastic.
The Time Lords were good.
The Time Lords were good. I enjoyed the pig. I enjoyed the pig.
I liked the pig.
That was, and but my favourite part of all, I think you did this with me, was we were time agents for Zaraya.
Oh yes, we joined the baddie.
We did, but I absolutely adored her. And on the very last show that I went to, Zaraya actually gets a sort of redemption arc, and it was actually really special. It was very sweet, and then they had all the cast and crew running at the very end. But I think it's worth a mention.
Was that the final day?
Final. I spent all of my money to go and see that, and it was
the final show, the final day.
Show on the final day.
Wow.
And I talked to some of the cast after, and it was fantastic because, on the very final one, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but yeah, Sarai gets a little bit of a redemption arc because everybody was cheering for her. Aww. And then at the very end, all of the cast and crew from all of it, so we had some of the scientists from the beginning rush in, and they all came to join us to chant and rub our hands together and make the magic work, which was really special. Aww. So I'm a big fan of anything to do with I
think it's coming back. I think it's just moving.
I hope so.
So me and Sam, one of our first episodes we did was called A Queer Whoniverse, and we talked about some of the kind of queer history of the show and the characters, and you weren't very impressed with this. You felt that we really skimmed past a very important relationship on screen.
So I personally think you could have done a lot more into the sapphic relationships.
Sure.
Particularly given the rise of Thasmin, and the fact that was such a massive part of Jodie's reign for a lot of people, me included. So I only really got back into Doctor Who when I watched the New Year special, Revolution of the Daleks. I read on Twitter somewhere that there was potentially some sort of sapphic relationship in there, and I hadn't been keeping up with the series since the start of series 12. But I really like Jazz and I love the Doctor, so I was like, oh, I should give it a go. I genuinely thought they were never going to go for it because I don't know why, but you don't see that much explicit sapphic representation on TV. And you don't find it where there's not some horrid death immediately after killing Eve. So I sort of really didn't expect them to go for it, and particularly not on a slot which was considered family friendly. I don't know why, but I just really wasn't sure whether they would actually do it. Yeah. And I was really excited to see they did. I was disappointed to see they didn't necessarily follow through, but that confirmation of Yasmin's feelings and the little fireworks scene, I love that episode.
Yeah.
I love it because I think it's a good episode, but I also love it for those moments. And then I was hideously disappointed by the bloody sea monsters.
The sea devils.
The sea devils. I have never...
So you didn't like the whole kind of, I can't, but if it was anyone, it would be you.
No, I didn't mind that. I just thought the episode itself was wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that episode. Okay. But also, I didn't think it did... I like the little, not a bad day, am I? Cute scene. But it just, again, then sort of got washed away for the next bit.
Washed away. Very good.
Very good.
That's a sea devil joke.
Basically, I think 13 and Yasmin is a really important development in terms of sapphic rep, because in Doctor Who, we've actually had a fair amount, as you discussed.
Yeah.
Of and particularly Russell T Davies, as a gay man, has written lots of amazing representation, but it was really nice.
How do you feel then about some of the sapphic relationships you did have, like Jenny and Vastra? I kind of slated that a bit.
You did, and I wasn't happy about that.
Okay.
Personally, I absolutely loved it. I think it's amazing to have two lesbians adopt a potato.
Yeah.
I don't see the issue.
It was more that the representation was immediately kind of like a lizard.
I mean, yeah, we'd all love to have two humans falling in love, but we can't ask for the moon and stars. Let's start lizard and then work our way up. From the dawn of time, literally, let's evolve through.
Oh yeah. Okay. It was how she was, it was, maybe I just don't like the character anyway, about, ooh,
I mean, I'm not saying it was my favourite representation of all time.
Just ate Jack the Ripper, how did he taste? Ooh, gritty or whatever. I was like,
I didn't, trust me, it was not a relationship that I was like, I was spending a lot of time thinking about, but I do think it maybe led the path to something better. And also, I feel like until then, any reference to sapphic relationships on the show has always been very jokey. So we've always had those sort of jokes about... Clara made a lot of jokes about sort of kissing women, or like...
Oh, yeah.
There's that one line where she talks about kissing... Who was it? It was somebody like...
Oh, yeah.
Was it Emily Dickinson?
Like Emily Bronte or something.
Yeah, and she says like...
Excellent kisser.
Not a bad kisser. Yeah. And it's just such a throwaway comment, and we have those a few times with Clara, but... It's never, ever evolved into anything of any substance. But that's sort of the only thing.
What about a character like Bill? Because Bill was much more developed, and that ends with her and her girlfriend kind of flying off into the stars.
Aren't they both dead?
No. I thought they were dead too. They're not dead. They are, I've rewatched, they kind of become, like magical creatures who can go anywhere and be anything.
I didn't really watch.
Okay.
Let's skip that now.
So, but you're pleased that Bill was there.
Of course I was pleased that Bill was there for many reasons, not only because as well it was a good chance to not replicate the Martha situation with the Doctor, where the Doctor goes, just pretend you fit in, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And she gets subjected to horrific racism consistently for a whole series.
They did correct that. That was
good.
That
was we had the Doctor punching somebody in the face. But yeah, I mean personally I think 13 and Yaz was a massive. Would I have liked to actually see them kiss? Yeah. Yeah, I think that would have been. Yeah. I think that would have been great, but you know.
So as like a Who fan, how do you feel? Do you remember like hearing that Russell Davies was coming back? How did you feel about that? Was that a bigger deal for me than you?
I did hear about it, but I was also hearing about it in the context of Jodie and Mandip hadn't finished their storyline yet, and I was very excited about what they were going to do with 13 and Yasmin. So it was actually a little bit of a bittersweet moment because I was like, in one hand, I'm really excited to have Russell T Davies back. And I know lots of people feel a very specific way about Chibnall. But at the same time, I really like the representation that Chibnall's brought to the series and the people he brings into the writer's room. So I'm like, both excited, but also was almost like I wish we had a little bit more time, which I know very few other people feel the same way as me about that one.
I found that Jodie was so settled into the role at the end. And in The Power of the Doctor, I was really sad to say goodbye to her.
Oh, I'm just so glad that Yaz wasn't killed off again in a bury your gaze trope.
I thought that was going to happen.
You were convinced, and we had this conversation beforehand, and I said, there is no way. Dear God, please, there is no way. We can't kill off every sapphic character on the BBC.
Yeah.
So I was excited to see the fact that Yaz got not a happy ending, but got a reasonable ending on her own terms. And I was happy to see the Doctor also regenerate peacefully, and be sort of content with that. And also, I like the fact we got to see Yaz sort of save the day a bit at the end.
Yeah, and become the Doctor with the little post-its around the TARDIS.
Yes, and I like to see Yaz carrying the Doctor back to the TARDIS. That was romantic. That's what I want, somebody to carry me back to safety.
After getting blasted with the Master's laser.
Absolutely. I met Jodie and Mandip at
Comic-Con. You did. Yeah.
And
Was that London Comic-Con?
Yes, it was last year, February. And
wow. Was that a paid thing? The photo?
It was. I did it for my birthday.
Wow.
And
I don't know where those pictures are. I haven't seen them for a bit.
I don't look amazing in them, but they look fantastic.
Wow.
So I was very embarrassing, but it was absolutely amazing.
Well, what did you say to them?
Oh, don't make me repeat that. I'm pretty sure I said something about thank you for the sapphic representation.
If you could say anything now and not kind of garble your words, what would you say?
Oh, I'm still going to garble them here. I would say something along the lines of like, thank you for genuinely giving me representation that made me feel seen. As a lifelong fan of Who, it's the first time I've actually watched a relationship on the show that felt like it could be me. Because I've always loved, 10 and Rose and, 11 and River, but I never felt a real connection to those relationships in the same way that I felt towards Yaz and 13. And it also made me feel like that was I know that if I'd seen that when I was younger, I would have really appreciated how normalised it felt.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like there was no whole coming out storyline in the same way that you've seen before. It's like her grappling. She was grappling with the fact that she had feelings towards the Doctor, not the fact that she was having feeling towards a woman. And I think that's really cool, actually.
Okay, yeah.
But personally, I loved how normalised it was.
Nice.
Particularly because the BBC is what I grew up on.
Yeah.
And I know nowadays we look at Netflix and stuff and there's a lot more options. But, I remember one of the first on-screen lesbian relationships I saw was Patsy and Delia from Call the Midwife. God bless did I love them. But they're closeted in 60s London. Like, they didn't kiss until the very final episode and then they left forever.
Yeah.
And apart from that, I grew up with Santana and Brittany from Glee, who are my all-time favourite sapphic couple in any media ever. But, that was American.
Yeah.
And even then, that was 2009 to 15. And it came up with so much controversy about it.
Really? I don't remember that.
Oh, all of the gay representation in Glee, they had Fox News shaking. They covered it several times.
Wow.
When Blaine and Kurt kiss in Glee, there's an incredible somebody's recorded the news section about it, and they're saying it's corrupting our children.
Oh my gosh.
And that's not long, and that was 2010, I think, when that case happened. So that's not,
wow.
It's not long ago. So when you think about it in context of Doctor Who, we'd already be on series 5.
That's pretty mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty mad.
Yeah, I just find that lesbian relationships or sapphic relationships, you don't see them as much.
So I guess to round off, like, what are you feeling about the future of Who? It's coming back in November. We get Catherine Tate again. That must be one of your favourites as well.
I absolutely adored Catherine Tate. I sort of knew of Catherine Tate before the series, and I adored her as Donna. I thought it was absolutely fantastic casting. So I'm very excited to see her. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the era. I'm looking forward to Russell T Davies taking the reins again, because we just did have some of the most epic stories.
He just finished writing. He said he just finished seeing episode 4.
And he said it was one of his favourite things he's written.
He said it's like one of the best pieces of work he's ever done.
Which I find hard to believe, because It's a Sin was one of the best things I've ever watched.
That was a good year for TV when we were in lockdown. WandaVision, It's a Sin.
Oh, I loved WandaVision.
And Drag Race UK season 2 was all kind of in the same
yeah,
week.
that was an incredible... That was a great time to be in isolation with you, to be honest. We should honestly...
I was pretty depressed.
There was one point in lockdown, we should talk about lockdown, because it was just before Alasdair moved out, which I think was for the best of all of us after lockdown. But there was one point early on in lockdown where I was very worried about not getting enough movement in, and I bought a basketball, and I stood outside the front of the house. God,
that basketball.
And I just dribbled the ball for and hours on end. Until eventually I got...
so loud.
It was very loud, to be fair.
It was like it was smacking into the house. It was so annoying.
But I was like, I can't go anywhere.
Dunk, dunk, and it just went on.
I bought a basketball, which Alasdair couldn't stand, because Alasdair just wanted to be inside and pretend that the world wasn't happening at that point. Then I bought a scooter, which Alasdair promptly broke, and I've got videos of him
No, because I tried to ride it, and I pulled the kind of top half of it off.
You pulled it off.
I fell quite dramatically. So we're very excited for the future of Who. And Anna, any closing thoughts? How was your experience appearing on Wholala today?
No, it's been lovely, and thank you for having me. Super proud of everything you've done, you and Sam.
Well, until next time, guys, thanks for joining me on my solo app. Not so solo, because Anna was here.
It's not really solo, is it?
But our Sam-free edition of Wholala. I hope you guys preferred it. If you did, let us know. Rate us 5 stars, and that might help keep them away from the pod for a little longer.
And if you want me to take over the podcast completely, let me know.
Well, that's not an option. So until next time, bye-bye.